Hi, my name is Tess, and I'm sitting here with my beautiful friend Kath, and we're having what we call the Sisterhood Conversations. We've been talking this year about what it means for us as ordinary, everyday women to go out and shape a culture of womanhood in our nation. And I understand and know that for some of us, we're just not sure what that looks like for us in our personal capacity in the lives that we live. And so we just wanted to have some informal chats about what that means for you and I to figure out who we are, so we can bring that to the table in its fullest form. And so this morning we're going to be talking a bit about value and identity and what it means for you and I to go on a journey of figuring that out. And so, Kath, it's so good to have you with me.
Good to be here. Always.
Thank you.
Love cameras.
Yes, we this is new for us, but we're so excited about what it means.
Yeah.
And so, Kath, I just love that you are so passionate about growing, that you are on a journey of growing and learning and understanding who you are, and you're passionate about this idea of reauthoring your story. I love that language, and that we all have the opportunity to do this. And so it's great to have you here to be able to share with us how we can be empowered to build something really beautiful in our own lives.
Yeah. No, well, thanks. It is something I'm passionate about. I've kind of stumbled across it, which is awesome. I'm just grateful to God for actually how He does direct your path. You end up going down one avenue and then it ends up being something completely different. But yeah, I think, I've realized that one of my greatest passions is, well, it's one of my strengths, is a developer. And so trying to pursue what does that actually look like in my life personally, as well as for others, because I'm passionate about other people moving forward as well.
Yes, you've done. Kath is doing an amazing work with our foundation here at Linc. She is really passionate about building this nation by building people.
Yeah.
And so that what you hold as your strengths and what you'd figure out in your own life, we see what you're doing with other people, and it's great.
Yeah, well, thanks. I think the thing is sometimes you can feel like an average, ordinary, everyday person. And then you have these massive visions, and like the vision for Sisterhood for me is particularly captivating, but you get to that point where you think, that's so amazing, I love it. Like you fired up and then you leave the building and you're like, so what am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably our conversation today, is where we don't lack in information or in inspiration,
Totally.
but how does that translate into how I walk that out in my own life? And so I think that's kind of what I wanted to pursue. And how does it make it simple? Because I know here at Linc we're all about making some complicated stuff very simple. And the one thing I really, really believe, like this year how God has given us that extra layer of I see color, is that He really made us to be different.
Definitely.
Like different isn't a bad word. Like I've always had that connotation that being different is wrong. But color, it embraces everybody's unique, what they bring to the table. And so a vision is a vision, but it can look different in how you walk it out.
Totally.
And so I think it's we don't all have to be doing the same thing, but we still carry the same heart and the vision. It just might look different, and that's good because it meets people where they're at. And so I think that conversation that we had after that last rally, which was really awesome, it was super inspiring, was, well, what does that mean for me?
Yes, and I think many girls watching this will have asked that same question. I see it happening in other people's lives, but what does that look like for me in my everyday world? I might be part of education, or I'm a stay-at-home mom, or I'm in the business place. How does this vision and an amazing idea of shaping a culture of womanhood in our nation translate into my life?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I learned last year that I found so profound was actually taking the time to think about it.
Yeah.
Because so often we come into a space, we take the info, but we never actually think about it.
No.
So it's just like another thing in our day, and taking the time to ask yourself, so what does this actually mean for me? How does this look in my life? And I think often where you can start with that is actually understanding a little bit more about yourself. Now that can be a massive journey.
Totally.
That journey of discovery, I think, is a lifetime, to be honest. I don't think you've ever arrived. But I do think there's some basics and that one can focus on, is like, actually, what do you really value?
Okay. So this would be forming an identity system, or an identity of who you are, what you believe about yourself.
Yeah.
And it's a massitive thing. Like you say, it's a lifelong journey. We don't necessarily
you can't do that, unpack that in 10 minutes.
Okay.
And I think it is lifetime, because we get to a place, it's really like, what do I really like? What do I want to pin my life on?
Okay.
So your values, like we've spoken a lot about culture, but your culture is your values lived out.
Okay.
So as a church, we have certain values that we live out, and we will put everything on it because it's something we're passionate about. It's not something you paid to do. It's something actually that's inside you. And I think we all need to realize, like, our values are our moral, well, not just our moral compass, they are compass in life. They should underpin the decisions you make. So when you're going against your values, it's going to be a slog. So you might think, that's awesome, that sounds great, I want to be like that person, but it's not actually one of your values, and then you come a little bit unstuck. It's your values are the things that you're going to fight for most, regardless of what's going down.
Even when it's tough.
Yeah. And I think to realize, like, your values, I know we're going to do like a very simple exercise we'll make available online. It's quite simple. It's just looking at, we made up of multiple parts. We're not just one thing. We've got spiritual values, we've got mental values, we've got physical values, but actually identifying what are maybe the top 3 in those areas, and then asking yourself questions, is my life lining up with this? Because if these are honestly what I value, not what I think someone else values or what other people I should value. Don't go down that road, because this is a personal exercise. What do I personally value? What would I stake what I do on this stuff? And then find them, narrow them down to the top 3. And then look and say to yourself, like, okay, let me take this vision. Let me see how does this translate to actually what I value? So for instance, in mine, I did this exercise last year, and one of the top values that I had was build. Which is, again, that developer thing. And so in whatever environment, whatever aspect of my life, with my kids, with my family, with my work, I value building. I value adding value to something.
And we can see that.
Yeah, well, with the foundation, I'm passionate. And I also believe everybody's got something to add. So as human beings, just because you might not have passed school, or this just comes in with the foundation, you still have something to add. And we all need to realize that we do have something to add. And if we all step up and we add that thing, it makes our country grow. So building is a passion for me, but it's actually, I found it to be one of my key values. So to realize that also enables you to understand more about what your purpose is, because my purpose then, regardless of whether I'm a pastor, whether I'm a dietitian, is I'm always looking for opportunity to build into someone's life. Amazing. And so that's my purpose. That won't really change.
So it's not necessarily about what you do.
No.
It's about
it's what you value most and what you will pursue, regardless of your job or your calling. And so I love the one short TED talk that I know we're going to put online. But just how it comes down to like 5 simple questions you can ask yourself. Amazing. It's not complicated. You don't have to go on a massive journey for it, but just answering some questions, 2 which pertain to yourself, and the other 3 is what you want to bring to the rest of the world, which is not self-focused. But start with that value. That value exercise for me was really key, because I can't remember who said it, but your values are your compass.
Amazing. Yes. It's
and that was what you build your culture on.
Someone once said to me, it's amazing how you say it's a compass. Someone once said to me, everyone holds their truth. And it's so key that we all embrace that and we stay true to that, because that is what's going to drive what we pour ourselves into, what we effectively become, the legacy that we leave. And so quickly, what does it look like for an ordinary everyday girl like you and I who wants to figure out what they value? What's the next step from here?
Well, I would say there are actually quite a few opportunities online to fill in a little questionnaire. I know we're going to post this online. But go through that exercise. There's some key little questions where you narrow it down, you circle all the values in different categories, and you say to yourself, okay, these are my top 10, these are my top 5, these are my top 3, and then take your top 3 from each and say to yourself, how am I actually living this out? What can I do if you're not living it out? Well, what do I want to do with this? So how am I going to express this in my life? How am I going to grow this? Because that's the other thing. I think so often we get given a gift. God gives us a gift, but we don't steward it. It's the same thing with your values. It's actually inherently probably what He's placed for you to bring to the world. but we don't grow it. So how can I develop this thing? How can I learn in it? How can I actually act on it? Because 70% of learning is action.
Yes.
We can hear as much information as we want, but when we don't actually act on it, it doesn't grow. And so I think with values as well, it's the same thing. Find out what they are. Ask yourself some questions. How can I actually grow these things? What can I do tomorrow or this week that might be one step towards actually bringing this thing alive in my life? So I don't think it has to be complicated. No. Start with one thing. You don't have to do all 10. You know what I mean? Just do one that stands out for you and just ask yourself the questions, how do I grow this?
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it's really just about you and I becoming intentional about asking good questions about who we are, where we fit in, what does that look like, and what do we actually value?
Yeah.
What do we want to be in this world? I've said this time and time again, show up in your life. And so for us to show up, it's going to be for you and I to understand who we are so we can show up with that at the table with confidence, with passion, with conviction, even when it's tough. And so I love that we're taking just some very small but fundamentally very important steps forward, and no one is to be excluded from this. Everyone can be a part of just asking good questions, writing some things down, actually thinking intentionally about who we are and who we want to be. So thanks, Kath.
Pleasure.
I love that you have all this insight to share, and thank you for watching. Keep your eyes posted on our Facebook page. We're going to be putting those value questions there. We're going to be putting talks for you to really grow in this idea and this way of thinking. And I hope that you're feeling empowered and equipped after this chat.